Today, I don't have a specific project to go over. I just want to speak a little bit about some of the rug pulls that are happening recently. So you may have heard in the news that Alpha Capital ran away with $2 million and Circulate Money did the same. Circulate Money was even more remarkable in that sense that they raised the money in 48 hours and then ran with that 2 million shortly after. Um, and I think the Circulate Money, space kind of caught most people by surprise. The reason being is they, seemed like they were from North America, which, potentially could be a lie. It seems like they were kind of open to doing KYC and they were kind of going through the audit with Solidity Finance. And everybody, somewhat, believed that these projects were going to be successful. And it comes from a long string of these, quote unquote, bot traders. You think about Stable Fund, Rely Fund, Healthy Fund, Prosperity Gem Ventures, Alpha, Circulate Money. They all, promise these insane rewards. 2% a day is ridiculous, right? And I think even in my video on Alpha Capital, I put the high APY as a risk, right? If you think about, even the stock market, that returns maybe 10% a year. Now, if you think you can get that 10% in 5 days, that is quite a remarkable and probably unbelievable project. Like you want slow, sustainable growth in a project. You don't want, quick returns. Usually those quick returns are the result of a Ponzi where new money is coming in to the project and that is used to pay out existing investors. Or it's through a multi-level marketing type scheme where referrals are done so you get additional chunk of the funds. But for all these projects, it didn't seem like anything was actually being pulled in for the money. I question whether they actually were even trading the money. So, while Alpha Capital did show kind of screenshots and videos of trades, and Circulate Money, claimed to have their trades on their website, and even Rely Fund, um, is supposed to have their trades listed on their website, right? So I think it's under maybe the trading bot. You may have to, connect to see the actual returns here. But they list out, a list of, all the trades they made. Well, obviously that stuff can be faked. Unless you have an actual transaction ID and it ties to a wallet, you can't guarantee that that is going to work, that it's going to be a successful trade, or that it's a valid trade, I should say. So really, with these rug pulls, you have to be careful. I think that increasing the criteria for what you invest in a project is important, right? So if you feel like your money is not, safe, it's not, kind of play money, you really shouldn't be investing at all in, the crypto or the DeFi space. Again, this is not financial advice. It's just trying to educate everyone on how you can make assessments on projects, right? And so I want to go over a couple of things, outside of just the rug pulls that are happening. You see a lot of videos out there, right? So here, like my 7-figure DeFi strategy, Yield Robot, Alpha Capital, PGV, Rely Fund, Drip, right? You see all these things about how to make, an insane amounts of money in a short amount of time, right? I think Circular Money probably had similar ones, earned 2 to 5% passive income per day, cap will be reached soon. So there's like a sense of urgency to get into it. The problem with these kind of videos, right, is that they are trying to get you to convince you to invest into a project, right? Especially when they're saying that the project is going to reach its max soon and that there's these insane kind of returns, and they're not providing critical advice, right? So again, in some of my videos here, I list out risks and safeguards, and then you can make your own assessment. Like I'm not making any kind of recommendation. You'll see that in all my videos, I don't even provide referral links with a code where I would get money for that referral because I think that's unethical, right? But you've got these projects out here, these YouTubers that are in essence just using this as a marketing scheme, and they're marketing unethical projects. Um, they are basically they get paid to post these videos, you know, anywhere from 3,000, plus kind of dollars a video, upwards to say 10, if not, 80,000. I have a video on this on my channel. Um, and then they get referral fees. So they're, full, say, 15,000, 100,000, whatever subscribers go and put money into this, they get a chunk of that as well. So they have no incentive to tell you the truth or to tell you to be cautious on the projects. They just are looking to make money off of referrals or off of, providing somebody a platform. So it's an entire marketing play, and that's fine, but just you should be aware that that's the motives of these people. They're not trying to make the space better. They're not trying to, kind of make DeFi a space where it's safe for people to trade, where they have, increased trust. They're just trying to market it, right? You think about like all of those, existing kind of scams, whether it's selling knives through companies like Cutco, or whether it's just kind of doing referrals through, some of those other kind of services. They're providing a service and they're getting paid for it. They're not providing a value into the community, in my opinion. So just first word of advice is be cautious when you see videos. Like think about what that person's intentions are and think about what they're gaining out of the situation, right? So on all of our videos on Defiantly, we don't collect any type of payment from the service. So yes, we may review projects that ultimately rug or that fail or that have problems, but we never collect a payment because that would compromise our viewpoint, right? That would, just naturally push our biases to try to sell the product, right? And if anybody says that they're bias free, even in this case, when we're not accepting any money, they're lying to you or to themselves, right? Everybody has a bias, and so you should know what it is, right? Even, again, on our channel, right? My bias is to grow the community defiantly and to have a co-op style community that can own a treasury and decide how they want to manage the funds, right? So whenever I, look at a project, of course, I'm always comparing it to my own project, and I'm trying to see how I can make my project better, or how, my project, is some place where people should invest as opposed to this one that's on the screen that I'm showing. So that's my bias, right? But I'm trying to minimize that as much as possible. And I think the best way to do that is to not accept money for videos, right? Just kind of be aware of that. Also, you see a lot of groups out there that are doing audits, right? So Circulate was audited by this company called Solidity Finance, and they have these feature audits and whatnot on their website. The one thing you should be aware of is that when a company does an audit, a technical audit, the whole thing is it's just trying to prove that the code is secure, that somebody can't hack it, that it does what it said it's supposed to do from a technical perspective, not from a financial perspective. So, some of the things you've seen on my videos about going through the code line by line, that's what the audit does. And it says, hey, this is what can happen. If it's not using a multi-signature wallet, there could be risks. If the owner can pull out the money, there can be risks. If the contract is upgradable, there can be risks. But every single DeFi project that I have seen out there has the potential to rug. And the reason being is the owner of the contract, a smart contract, almost always across the board has the ability to withdraw the funds. And a lot of them have the ability to change the code or update the contract at will. Part of this is, a requirement in some cases for projects, right? So I'm not saying it's a bad necessarily practice. Like imagine if a company had a bank account and they couldn't manage the bank account. They couldn't take money out and do things with it. So obviously someone has to be able to pull money out of the contract. But there should be transparency around that, and there should be some kind of safeguard. And I have an idea for that, which I'll speak about a little bit further in the video. But just be aware that audit does not mean security, right? Audit is not really in that whole trustless framework that crypto and DeFi was meant to be. So just kind of be aware of that. The other thing is, KYCs. So you see, again, a lot of companies out there doing KYC and kind of doing, what they say is like in-depth identity verification. So again, the space in crypto and DeFi is supposed to be trustless. You shouldn't need a KYC to validate that a project will be successful, right? You think about, do I need a KYC if I want to send Bitcoin from one wallet to another? No, I can just trust that protocol will work, and I don't even have to care about who, Satoshi is, right? It doesn't matter. He's not KYC'd, so like the core of crypto does not need that. The reason why these, projects have KYC though is because they are breaking away from the tenets of DeFi and of crypto. They are going more to centralized finance, right? So whenever a company or a project is managing everything, right? So you think about Alpha Capital. There was, one or very few individuals managing it. Circulate Money, one person running it, right? That is centralized finance. It's using a decentralized protocol, right, where everybody has access to it and there's less kind of barriers and whatnot, but it's not centrally owned. So that's why KYC is needed. But the problem with the KYC that I've seen out there is that there's no details about what's actually happening with these KYCs. Like Truth Seekers is a good example. Like they claim to do identity verification. From what I've seen some of their videos, and I could be wrong here, they in essence are asking somebody to show their ID, and then they're matching the ID to like a utility bill, and then looking at a bank statement and seeing if it's like recent, if there's some common, recent transactions happening, how long it's been opened, things like that. All of that stuff can be faked very, very easily. You can create a fake website, fake bank. I even have over here, look at sample utility bills, right? You can pull up these and just completely fake how you verify yourself, right? So if you really want identity verification, you have to go with a reputable source, right? So like Checker is an example. They do international background checks, right? And so what they do is they'll take an ID and actually verify it many times against a government database, right? So think about when somebody gets a fake ID, say if a high schooler is trying to buy alcohol illegally, they're printing a fake ID and it looks pretty realistic a lot of the times. So the only way to verify that is to go through some type of service, right? You have to verify that person's who they say they are. I don't know if some of these smaller groups like Truth Seekers have the ability to do that kind of verification. At least they haven't demonstrated it. So I would love to see as they kind of grow in this case to actually show their KYCs. Record a video of somebody showing their ID and mention the services that you use, whether it's Checker or some other kind of service. MyTech has an identity verification service. There's a lot of them out there, right? But you need somebody that has that legality that can actually check and do what they say they're supposed to do. And that's not just ID verification, that's also background checks, criminal checks, things like that. That's what a proper KYC is needed. So doesn't rug pull. But again, I don't think that KYC is necessarily needed all the time unless the project has poor constraints. So let me speak to one of the ideas I have on Defiantly. I'm really curious at the community and how they suggest that we move forward with this. But one way is there's an original idea of a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization. The similarity to that in the real world is a co-op. So a co-op is when all of the employees own that corporation or that company. With a DAO, it's a very similar aspect where everybody owns that DeFi project, that protocol, whatever it is. A lot of times we see in the DeFi space, the DAO is just a voting mechanism. So you can vote on something and then the centralized group, so some kind of authoritarian control that goes above the DAO makes the final decision. They end up, implementing that solution at best case, worst case, ignoring it, right? That's not a proper DAO, in my opinion. So what we want to do with this project is implement the DAO. So for example, here we say, hey, there's about 10K new funds in our treasury. What should we do with it, right? then everybody can go here and they can vote up or down some new project that they want to put the money into, or new investment, whatever it is, right? It could be as much as like putting money into an Airbnb rental service. It could be investing in some kind of DeFi service. It could be holding Bitcoin, whatever is the thing. The community can add a proposal here, and anybody can do it as long as they hold tokens in the project. And then they can vote based on the number of tokens. But again, that's another thing we can discuss. You either have a system where you vote based on the number of tokens, so it's, in essence, finance based. So if I have more money, I have more say. Or you do one person, one vote, which gets tricky with wallets, right? Because I can create 50 wallets, and how do you know that I'm just one person? So again, that would require KYC. But nonetheless, once everybody votes, this can trigger a multi-signature wallet that, again, nobody's running this project centrally. You could have a multi-sig that is driven based off of these votes, and then it just does the thing it's supposed to do, right? And so that's one way to get community involved and have a trustless system, because the thing can't do anything else, right? So like if I submitted this proposal and I said, hey, I want to go into this project, and I submit the wallet address, and then it automatically sends the money out to that address. Now, of course, I'd be amiss if I didn't say there was going to be potential for bad actors in here, right? I can post my own wallet, and I can say, hey, put money in here, and I can take all of my existing shares of the project and just vote for myself, right? And so you can put some checks where you can't vote for your same wallet, but again, someone else can create a new wallet. But my hope is that over time, those bad actors will kind of get weeded out of the system through a number of kind of security checks. But in one regard, if somebody has 50,000 in the project, so half of this fund, and they vote to give all of the returns themselves, they can, right? It won't sustain the project, and eventually people will leave and it'll collapse. But the idea is that we're incentivizing the project to do good. So whenever things we invest in do well, people are naturally going to want to gravitate towards that, and there'll be less of a chance of kind of self-interest in that way, because why drain the contract of money and give it to yourself versus letting it run continually, right? So that's one aspect of it. The other is sometimes money has to leave the chain, right? If you want to invest in real world assets, for example, or if you want to put it into a project, for example. My argument here is that if I want to manage, say, 10K of this fund, because I say, hey, I have this really cool trading bot, and I want to run it with 10K of the funds. The community thinks it's a good idea, and they vote for it. I have to put up some kind of capital to ensure that I don't run. So my thought is, if I want to manage 10K of this fund, I have to lock 10K of my own share of this fund in the platform. And I can only unlock my money if I return the funds, hopefully with a larger kind of return, but that will unlock it. Or we can set it up so the community unlocks it. There are a lot of options here. I'd love to discuss in Discord, further about how we can make this better. And so that's, again, just one idea, one way to make the space better. You see other things out there, right? So Murdoch and Jonathan from the FUD Farm have this idea of creating a pledge. So in essence, all of the influencers and YouTubers sign a document that say, hey, I solemnly swear that I will do X, Y, Z. I will only interview KYC guests. I'll only interview if somebody agrees to show their face on a screen, etc. And I think that's a great first step. The one problem I have with this is it's still centralizing the control, right? So Jonathan and Murdoch aren't interested in having community come and provide feedback for this protocol, right? So there are a number of things we can do in this protocol. We could say that YouTubers don't get any money, right? They can't take funds for an AMA, or even better, they have to disclose that they're accepting funds, right? So there's a lot of US regulation that does this, with the SEC kind of regulations. And so you could say you have to be transparent about how much, you're going to get. So one idea I have for them is to, if they want to do an AMA, they have to explicitly say they're accepting money and say how much, and then also say how much of their own personal money is in the project that they're explaining. That will help increase transparency. I'd prefer them not to accept money, but that's one option. But unfortunately, I was speaking with Jonathan um, on Telegram here, and basically I posted my ideas for how to make this project better. I had a list of about 6 or so of them, and he deleted my message. I reached out asking why he did that, kind of explaining that I'm used to the open source type communities where everybody has a say, we collaborate and swarm on something and produce results. Um, and in essence, he's saying he's not interested in that. He doesn't believe he'll be able to make traction with that. Where the first step is he wants to have 100% control over the rules and just decide himself with Murdoch about how to do this before accepting input from everybody else. I think that's a mistake. That's going against what DeFi was set out to be, right? So I kind of mentioned that in my message, where I said that's in essence centralization. If you have just a few people making decisions for a large community. And so again, he wasn't quite interested in that. Basically, decided to move in a different path. So I wish them luck in how they're running their project. But even on here, I posted some ideas, and those also were deleted. So whenever you post ideas here with their pledge, as they're calling it, they're just kind of deleting anybody that disagrees with them. So that's a bit concerning. I've seen some other comments in here. I can't seem to find them anymore, so they might have been removed as well. But they're kind of getting deleted. So again, whenever you gate control, that's always something to watch out for, and that's always a risk overall. So in general, again, I want to reiterate that projects can fail. There's always going to be bad actors. You want to look for certain things that ensure that the project will be successful. And some of those things are KYCs, audits, transparency, videos showing that who the person is and that they say they are, having a DAO, having multi-signature that the community controls, not the owners. There's a lot of ideas we can do in this space. So if you have ideas for us, for our project and how we want to run, either put them in the comments or you can post in our Discord, and we'd be happy to discuss those further. But I really want us to make the community a better space and allow us to really take DeFi to the next level and get it out of this Ponzi rug pull type phase that it's in. So again, if you have any suggestions, feel free to post them. Even if you disagree with my approach, definitely want to see feedback. So thanks.